here in Utah. And my company helps those companies get access to capital, develop their business plans, and help them deploy those business plans in those various markets. Again, Nevada, New Mexico, and Utah in the case of this company, and Indonesia. We take on projects from time to time in the energy sector. I worked with American Electric Power. It's a big coal-fired power company, trying to help them put financing strategies together to build more coal-fired power plants, both domestically and abroad. So it's mostly financial management and consulting services. And I've been doing that for about 22 years.
And is it the case that in certain industries or with certain countries that there are no private sources available for that capital and you have to get it from the government?
Yeah, it is. And it's the case of some emerging markets. And again, I think that I'm not a big believer that America should be expending our resources to influence other governments. I think we have to focus on creating jobs and economic development work here. And so I was on the advisory board for the Department of Commerce for small business. I was on the advisory board for Exim Bank a few years ago, all with the eye on focusing on helping small businesses. Let's see, that's, I also invest in businesses and help grow them, but that's not necessarily within Interlink. The healthcare facility that I'm the CFO is just a couple of partners that we put about $4 million together and built a business out of that. So, but Interlink specifically is primarily focused on helping companies. We work with large U.S. companies and small startup companies as well. So.
It looked to me on the website that a lot of the grants and things were coming through the Department of Energy, but I think that I've heard you say maybe that you want to get rid of the Department of Energy.
Well, I want to move the Department of Energy to the states because right now what happens is we're trying to build this factory or this plant in Beaver County right now. And the Department of Energy throws up all kinds of barriers. There's NEPA requirements, there's the EPA, EIA, what's it?
Atomic?
No, it's environmental, you have to do all of these surveys and they never get back to you and it takes years and years. So they are not a partner with us in our development. They tend to create a barrier to our ability to develop the energy resources right here in our own state. If the state was responsible for that instead of the federal government, we would get a faster turnaround for our permits. If you try to put a transmission line in, for example, you have to have FERC analysis and FERC approvals. Well, it takes years because the federal government doesn't have any reason to respond to us. I mean, we put an application into a federal agency and it literally, they don't have to respond. There's no accountability at the federal level. So if you move those responsibilities from energy, education, all down to the state level, what you would end up with is a much easier process to do economic activity. Same with FDA. Take the FDA. I mean, they have a ridiculous bureaucracy that is an impediment to research and development and bringing new technologies and new pharmaceuticals and new medical devices onto the private market. So I think, as a businessman, I get that. I get the relationships, and I understand the need for greater efficiencies. So, is that it? Okay.
Oh, yeah, that was
Other questions? Yes.
How do you feel about outsourcing to other countries, taking jobs from our own people?
So, I'm not a believer in protectionism. I believe that we have to have free markets, but I believe we have to have an environment here where our companies can compete and succeed naturally. That does not mean throwing up a lot of trade barriers. What it means to me is we have to lower the regulatory burden, we have to lower the tax system so that those companies can thrive and survive in the economy here. We chase companies out of this country, unfortunately, because we don't allow them to make a profit. And I'll give you an example. The worst example is Halliburton. If you look at Halliburton, billions of dollars of economic development in Texas, worldwide headquarters were focused there for a long time. Now people know because of Dick Cheney, but their business is a great business worldwide. They're building projects all over. They were making a lot of money. They left and went to Dubai because the compliance costs, the tax burden, the regulatory environment became just so onerous that they said, why, this is not where we're going to prosper as a global company. And we chased them out of this country. Lazy Boy up in the north went to Mexico to manufacture because they couldn't make a profit here. We've got to have an environment to keep our jobs here, to keep our people employed, to get the government out of the way. And that's why I hope you'll consider sending a businessman back to Washington, D.C. I get it, I understand, I've been doing it for 22 years. And I think that separates me dramatically from the challengers in this race. And I think Senator Bennett, while he had a business career, has been in Washington D.C. just too long. He's been there too long, and he's lost touch with the things that matter to the ground here. Small business